Dysbiosis means there is altered gut microbiota profile, and this may lead to lack of the beneficial effects that we discussed of the healthy microbiota, the balance. There may be increased inflammation in the gut environment, which leads to risk of NEC and IBD-like diseases, depending on the age group you are discussing. So what can we do to reduce dysbiosis? So we can encourage vaginal delivery and avoid cesarean as best as we can. So we need to interact with our obstetricians. We can share talks like this with obstetric colleagues, so they get to know the impact of cesarean delivery on the long-term health of the baby. We have to encourage breastfeeding, which all of us do, and we should try our best to do that. I refer to my channel and I've sent you the link as well. There are many videos on breastfeeding support in that. I request you to go through them as well. We have to minimize the use of broad spectrum antibiotic, and if used, we have to restrict the duration to the least possible in a safe way. Rationalize the use of antibiotics based on your culture results. So don't be using your gut instinct too much. Use the evidence in this case. And consider appropriate use of probiotics, which we will discuss in the next few slides. Probiotics are live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. These are non-pathogenic microbes, so in most cases, we don't have to worry about the risk of infection from the probiotic itself. And usually they are resistant to acid and bile, so they can bypass the mechanisms and they can reach the distal intestines and the colon, where they are tending to act. They transiently colonize the GIT and influence metabolic activity. They produce antimicrobial and immune modulatory effects. So the action is mainly through prevention of gut colonization by a variety of pathogens. And the metabolites that are produced by the probiotic bacteria, the short-chain fatty acids, the pH lowering effects, these have broad antimicrobial activity. They also produce chemicals which may change. And they interact with the prebiotic material produced in environment, suppressing proliferation as well as minimizing the inflammation that results from the pathogens. So the effects can be categorized as luminal effects, epithelial effects, and immune effects. The immune effects are an indirect effect by balancing the reduction in stimulation of these lymphocytes by bringing more balanced mucin layer, preventing the pathogens entering the system by keeping the count of pathogens. So we have a genetic mechanism where we know that these probiotic bacteria are healthy bacteria. Our immune system kind of develops a balance. They don't react against these bacteria. So this is from the genetics and epigenetics that we inherit from our families. So this is a very important factor as well as to why the probiotic bacteria do not elicit an inflammatory response, while if the gut barrier is broken down, the cells coming in, the pathogens may stimulate the inflammatory mechanisms. And I told you how by increasing the production of cytokines, it has an impact on the brain as well. So these are the mechanisms: by secreting bacteriocins and defensins, and by competitive inhibition with the bacteria for the receptors through which they enter, by inhibiting the bacterial adhesion and translocation, by reducing the luminal pH, which is not conducive to the pathogen's growth, by improving the mucus layer, which again moves pathogens away. It enhances the barrier function, and by preventing these, it protects the inflammatory cells from facing these pathogens, so the cytokine system is not altered. So this is the basic reason why probiotics are good for us. And there has always been interest in probiotics, and this was recognized, though not medically. Subconsciously, our ancestors were using this. So we can see as early as 3500 BC, the Sumerians were using cheese for healthy living. Indian and other ancient civilizations were using milk and curd. The same applies in Egypt as well. And the Celts and Huns also perfected the art of fermentation, which again, we have probiotic bacteria involved. The pH is lowered and it's good for you. So pasteurization started coming up in late 2000s, and then antibiotics, as you know, from the mid 1900s. Probiotics were becoming very prominent from the late 1990s. However, the benefit of probiotics was hypothesized as early as late 1800s by Dr. Eli Mechnikov, and he mentioned that bacteria play a role in health and disease. The lactic acid bacteria are important for human health and longevity. Ingested bacteria can have positive effects.